welcome to today's Get Hired workshop. Super excited for our guests today. We have an awesome panel lined up for you ahead of our event on December 7th. So if you haven't gotten registered yet, everybody and anybody who is joining us today, make sure that you get registered for the December 7th Military Friendly Employer Job Fair or Career Fair. And it's virtual, so it's really, really exciting. We'll have booths set up. You can speak with some of our panelists that are on the call today, amongst about, I think there's about 19 other companies that'll be joining us. So really exciting stuff. It'll be a great event. And with that being said, we're only 6 days away. So make sure that you get registered. And we have some awesome panelists today. We actually have 5 with us today. So I will go and just kind of give you a brief idea of who we're talking to today, what companies they're from, and then we will round robin and let everyone introduce themselves and give a quick bio for our audience today on who you are, what company you're with, and what your role is at that organization. And then we can jump right into the awesome questions that we have lined up to give you guys the information that you are looking for ahead of the career fair so that you're prepared and ready to go. All right, so we have Lindsay Luca with us. Lindsay is with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana. We have William Pashota from Combined Insurance. We have Dr. Sharon Mills from Primcorp. We have Terry Amoretti. I'm going to botch your last name, Terry. I'm so sorry. You can pick it up whenever you intro. And then Terry is with Blue Cross or Blue Shield of California. And we have Brian Heffernan with Amento. So really, really exciting. And we'll just go Hollywood Squares. And you guys can just give a brief intro to our audience today and we can jump right in those questions. So Brian, if you want to go first.
Yes, good afternoon. Brian Heffernan representing Amentum today. I'm a 22-year Army retiree. I've been with Amentum for 3 years. I'm currently serving as a global manager of DE&I and military programs. And I'm also the chair for the Veteran Employee Resource Network for the company. So I look forward to being here today and thank you for the invite.
Thanks for attending. We're happy to have you. All right, and Terry?
Hi, my name is Terry Amoretti, and I'm with Blue Shield of California. My day job is an IT process analyst, and my side of the desk job is I am the ERG co-chair for our veterans employee group called Operation Vet.
Thank you, Terry. And Dr. Sharon Mills.
Sorry, I couldn't get it off video. My name is Dr. Sharon Mills. I'm actually the Veterans Program Director for Primcorp LLC. We're primarily a government contracting company out of Arlington, Virginia. My background is I spent 23 years in the Army as logistics and air defense officer, but my job is to kind of bridge that gap between mentoring people in the transition and with the company.
Thank you, Dr. Mills. And William.
Good evening, everyone. My name is William Pashota. I am the National Military Recruiting Program Manager for Combined Insurance. So a co-chair for our military employee resource group called Salute. Combined Insurance is also a Chubb company, and we're the leading provider of individual and group supplemental products. So we cover accident, disability, health, and life insurance products. I'm also a U.S. Army veteran who served 5 years active duty. I'm work for a company like Combined and Chubb that is a military-friendly employer. If you're interested in a career in the insurance industry, I'll go ahead and put our website directly to our military careers landing page, and also my direct email if you're interested in a job in the insurance industry. I look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, William. And last but not least, we have Lindsay Luca.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Luca, and I am a Marine Corps veteran. I served in 2007 to 2012, and I went on to pursue my undergrad and MBA in human resources. And I currently work as the workforce development specialist here at Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana, where I primarily specialize in intern recruitment as well as veteran recruitment and outreach. I'm also the co-chair of our Veterans ERG Boots to Blue for the past 3 years.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right, so it is a pleasure to have everybody on today's event and super, super excited for this conversation. So I'm sure a lot of you in the audience are wondering, what is military friendly, right? And what is that term? What does it mean? So military friendly is a ratings organization. It's actually a almost a training and development arm of our organization. So we look at, or we have companies that submit data to us. It's about 250 questions, takes employers anywhere from 16 to 24 hours to complete it. And it basically outlines their entire program from start to finish. So we look at hiring and onboarding, we look at retention, programs, really everything that that company has to offer that would affect your employment and your retention with that organization. So we have some of the top employers on our call today, which is super exciting. And so I would like if we could go through and just kind of round robin. This question's for everybody, right, on the call, all of our panelists. What is it that makes your company a military-friendly company, in your opinion, right? So what is it about your organization that you feel that you go above and beyond or that you excel at when it comes to your military hiring and promotion and advancement efforts? Brian, you want to go first?
Absolutely.
On you today.
Absolutely. So Mentum works side by side with the government every single day. So we're very involved with the military, the three-letter agencies. We also have commercial operations. What makes us a military-friendly company is working side by side. We have a lot of individuals that, in order to qualify, you have to have a military background. So that, in turn, makes them a prime candidate to come work for our company. It's a very seamless transition coming over to Amentum. We have very military-friendly practices when it comes to HR and talent acquisition. To include, we have a DoD skill bridge program with every intention to hire post-internship. We're partnered with the Army Reserve P3 program, the PACE program for the Army Reserve, and National Guard, and Embry-Riddle as well. So we continue to strengthen our partnerships to bring in service members, former service members are currently serving in the Army and National Guard to participate, because we know with the like mindset that they're going to be valuable members of our team.
Thanks, Brian. That's awesome. All right. And so everybody on the call, so we all have different perspectives, right? There's different employees. There's some in HR, some who are part of the employee resource group, military program managers. So with that being said, Terry, right, you bring a different perspective to the call, right? So we'd love to hear, how, in your opinion, what makes your company military friendly?
So I think what makes our company military friendly, just in general, our overall benefits, we work from home, our healthcare benefits are great. That includes both physical and mental health care. But from a military perspective, our ERG is phenomenal at supporting our veterans as well as their spouses. So we do a lot of education and awareness of our general population, because most of the people that attend our events are either advocates or allies for active military or veterans. So I try to bring awareness and education so that we may foster additional allies and advocates. We also do outreach to our veterans to make sure that during those trigger times of Memorial Day, 9/11, and the holidays, that our veterans ensure that they are heard, that they have someone that they can go to, a trusted ally, and that, if they need resources, I could provide those resources to them. We also do outreach to the families. We have reservists that are in our community as well, that, like during COVID, we had someone that was deployed 3 times. Once to get set up for, hospitals, and another to do testing, and another time to do vaccination. So we provided some gap pay when they got deployed. Their salary was not impacted at all, so the family can continue to thrive. So we have that benefit as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry. And this next question is for Lindsay, William, and Dr. Mills. So kind of very similar, what makes your company military friendly, or what is it about your company that makes you military friendly, but with a little bit of a twist, right? What is it about your HR processes, or your recruiting, your outreach, those sorts of things that you feel that you do differently from other companies who are not military friendly? And whoever wants to go first, Lindsay, William,
I'll
Director
go.
Mills, jump right in.
I'll go. So yeah, I think we have a really strong just awareness within HR, especially within our talent acquisition. So we do training, in order to understand military resumes, but also to understand some of those soft skills that they can bring in, whether that be loyalty or, the ability to adapt. We also offer great incentives. So whether that is tuition assistance or that is, our ERG or really that gap pay too. So if they're individuals who are deployed, they aren't really suffering and seeing that difference in pay. We also have an understanding of supporting also military spouses and military families. I'm sorry. So we ensure that our organization is celebrating those differences, whether it's Armed Forces Day, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and we bring in those families to our organization and really just put on a get together to really ensure that they're heard, they're valued. And also, as Terry mentioned, during those triggering times, we ensure that our employees have a space to talk freely amongst each other and amongst our leaders of our organization, as well as providing EAP benefits as well.
Hi, I guess it's my turn. So for our company, Primcore LLC, what makes our company stand out is our HR process is just not, our HR department is just not siloed. We actually we look at hiring veterans from a strategic perspective. So our company is very small. We're currently at about 100 people. Our company is very flat. So when you interview, when you go through the process, you get to talk to the CEO, you get to talk to everyone. But what makes us stand out and makes our HR process, I guess, stronger than other policies is because we're a flat company, and it's not very many opportunities that when you get interviewed and hired and when you go through the process that you will be speaking with the CEO. Additionally, 30% of our company are veterans. So we actually have policies and procedures in place where if you are a veteran, you will be interviewed by a veteran within the panel. Again, we have a CSP program. We also have a mentorship program. So everyone who directly contacts me or we get direct hires, I reach out to everyone. So what makes us strong as a company in HR policies is our overall perspective. We also have USERA policy, and everyone is quite familiar with USERA policy, but our HR perspective is just not siloed. We are so small that we talk and everything is, is active and it's at a strategic level.
Thanks, Dr. Mills. William?
So what sets Combined Insurance apart would be our culture. We have a really top-down culture, and going all the way up from the president of the company, all the way down, really supporting our military, and also taking a holistic approach, not just to attracting military talent into our organization, but as well as hiring them and retaining them as well. By having that culture, having an employee resource group like Salute, it really helps those individuals coming in, those military veterans, military spouses, military family members, to help network with individuals, like themselves. And that really helps with the camaraderie piece. We also have a mentoring program as well within our organization through the Salute ERG group. We also have coaching circles, so they're able to talk amongst each other within a smaller group. So, we also actively support the military community, very heavy, by offering volunteer opportunities within the various organizations that we partner with. And we also give back to military organizations in a big way. We actually host our own individual sales initiative called Operation Veteran Give Back. And we do that once a year, where all of our sales agents across the United States really, go out and sell, and they're able to actually pick an organization, our top 2 organizations that are zones that would lead in, across the U.S. They get to pick and donate to a military.
Awesome. Thank you, William. So a lot of great programs, a lot of great initiatives with these organizations. Thank you for what you guys do for the community. So with that, there's a lot of organizations, both external and internal, right? And programs and things that individuals can leverage to help them with their career search, to help them with networking. And so it can be kind of difficult sometimes to navigate that, right? Because there's just so many of them. I think there's 52,000 VSOs, MSOs. So it can be kind of hard. So in your opinion, and we'll kind of just, I'll call on maybe Lindsay first. What is it about your organization, or do you have any partnerships or external partnerships or any programs that you know of that can be helpful in the career search process?
So for us, we really primarily recruit within Louisiana. So we partner a lot with the Louisiana Department of Veteran Affairs, the Louisiana Workforce Commission, specifically within their veteran area. But we also attend, outreach when it comes to veteran career fairs, maybe hosted by like the New Orleans Pelicans, because down here in Louisiana, I will say that they are very veteran friendly, very veteran friendly community, as well as just going on to local bases and recruiting straight from there, maybe from their separations courses or their classes. So we really try to do a really good job of kind of diversifying it as much as possible. So that's pretty much what we do.
Oh, sorry about that. Thanks, Lindsay. I forgot where the mute button was, or the unmute button. Terry, you're pretty well versed in partnerships and supporting organizations. Do you have any advice, or can you offer any information to our audience today on internal and external programs that they can leverage for career searching?
Yes, I actually work with an organization called Hire Heroes, and they do a lot of mock interviewing and career counseling. So I would reach out to VSOs to do that kind of work. But really, the major way a person gets a good job, regardless of if you're a veteran or not, is you have to have a network. So I would start to build your network. And that is both people who knows other people, who then knows other people. So go to local events, go to virtual events, and start building that networking and getting to know the people. And then once they know that, then they're more apt to refer your resume out.
Absolutely, Terry. You hit the nail on the head, right? Networking is so important. LinkedIn can be a really, really powerful tool when it comes to building your network. Just be careful, right? Now, LinkedIn's not Facebook. So we just want to be mindful of that. Brian, anything to add?
Yeah, so when it comes to employment, the Disabled Veterans Outreach Program is really good. So you have your DVOP and your leaver. Your leaver works with the company. We partner well with the leavers. Just a little background on that. All 50 states have communities and counties. All counties are supported by the DVOPs and leavers. And if a veteran is looking for a position and they contact their local DVOP, they will be able to work with companies like Amentum to be able to have those resumes built properly and to be able to identify them for jobs to be able to interview for. Those individuals actually get connected with me and our company, and it's very helpful. When looking at it from a health perspective, we're also partnered with the VA, and I personally have been through my VA process, and I like to share that practice with anybody that I'm in contact with.
Great advice. Dr. Mills, are you aware of any external programs or affiliations that you guys work with that can be great, for our audience to reach out to for career opportunities?
Yes. So I guess I won't add to what everyone else says. I agree with that. I think that if you're transitioning out the military, you should really focus on where you want to be located and work with those installations. Because for us, we're located in the National Capital Region primarily, and we're in Andrews, Quantico, Fort Belvoir, and so forth. So I think the key thing is, if someone's looking for a job, to figure out where you want to work and then start working on your network. from there, but also I just add to what someone said earlier, also think it's most important to get a mentor, someone who has been in your position so they can help mentor you through the process. And what I tell people when they speak to me, you know, I try to mentor them, whether they work for our company or not, we provide mentorship. So I think most importantly is working on your network, but also finding a mentor who can help you through the process.
Absolutely. William, did we leave anything out?
A lot of great topics covered there. Yes, networking being absolutely number one, and you know, finding that you know, network within your local community, and then, you know, if you are staying local, then really branch off and see what opportunities, networking opportunities are available locally, and that will also help you sort of, you know, get prepared to really take those next steps to you know, go to those big career fairs, you know, whatever it may be. Even on a local level, or, you know, recruit military, hiring our heroes, military spouse employment partnership events that are all across, you know, United States. So just, and, you know, Department of Labor also helps with that as well. Even your local unemployment offices, majority of them across the country have their own vet reps to really help you, you know, with build your resume and really, I guess, sort of start, you know, from the very beginning and working your way up to, you know, finding a new career.
Yep. Thank you, William. Sharon, did you have something to add?
Yes, I just wanted to add that if you were transitioning out, I really highly suggest a career skills program, because that way you can go through the program and do the internship, and majority of the time you will get interviewed for the position. So, you know, if nothing else, if you have time, do the career skills program as well.
Absolutely. SkillsBridge is an awesome program, right? If you go through your installation, you know, Soldier for Life or your education service offices or your transition offices, got a contact there that has a ton of employers that are wanting to hire you, right? And bring you in for internships. So thank you for that, Dr. Mills. That was an awesome addition. We didn't quite go over. Someone also too brought up in the chat about LinkedIn. So LinkedIn does offer, and just to mention everybody, it does offer a free membership. I think it's for 12 months, but that can be a great tool. So our military friendly employers are really good at understanding the challenges that, you know, come with transitioning out or reintegrating into new industries, and also some of the challenges our military spouses have. So I want to touch on that. You know, it can be challenging when you're PCSing a lot and, you know, moving frequently, and, you know, sometimes you don't want to self ID, right? You don't want to say, you know, hey, I am a military spouse, or hey, I am a veteran, because you might be afraid, or even Guard and Reserve, right? That employer may say, you may be moving in a few years, right? So that's a pretty big investment for us to make, and then you move. So if we could just kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that your organizations do to help with those challenges, or any advice that you could offer when it comes to addressing skills gaps on resumes or self-IDing to our audience, for those who may be a little apprehensive about self-IDing. We could do the Hollywood Squares again. So Brian, you're right there. You go first. Okay, or Lindsay, you're right there. Lindsay, you next.
Okay, sure. So one of the things that we do is we do this multiple times a year, but we put a call to action to go ahead and self-identify. Maybe you missed that. You know, when you were onboarding, maybe you didn't quite understand it, but we also send out informational videos as why we're doing this. So we're doing this to capture, you know, information. We're doing this, you know, it doesn't have any adverse action on you whatsoever, no matter what you choose. And we also have kind of broken out our category. So before, at least for us, you know, putting protected veteran, well, what did that mean? So we really, you know, labeled that out, spelled it out for everyone. And we also allow the ability, the majority of our workforce works from home. Now I will say, obviously we would try to recruit within Louisiana, but we are allowed to work in other states as well. So if they are able, you know, if they do need to move due to PCSing, they do have the ability to work in another state and still keep their position with us.
That is awesome. William.
I think, self-identification, especially for us at Combine, is very important. So we're very similar, and we really want you to self-identify, and put that out there ahead of time, sort of, explaining why we want you to self-identify, because it is a positive, whether, you're self-IDing as a military veteran or not. It really helps, I think, you as an individual and being the veteran, because it's part of, goes into that recruiting process where we're able to actually, know that you're a military veteran. And when we're looking at your resume, that sort of helps us, determine that you're a military veteran, and, we can work with you there. We're reviewing your resume and seeing why there may be gaps in your resume, or, help you translate some of those skills that you may not have put on your resume. So we really invite, veterans, military spouses, and family members also to join, once they're brought on to our veteran ERG group, Salute, because that helps too. Like I said, going back to really giving them that camaraderie that they had in the military before, but also providing them with mentorship opportunities for development, and also giving them the opportunity to also, volunteer in their local communities. So the community outreach of being able to give back, I feel like, is something that a lot of military veterans want, once they get out of the military and come back into the civilian world. So really think, definitely a really big thing for us at Combine.
Absolutely. And it's, with military friendly employers, it's a little different, right? Because typically the employers will have a dedicated point of contact. So if it's a large organization too, if you're not self-IDing, there's a chance that you could maybe not make it into the ATS because, maybe your resume doesn't fit what they're looking for, or it doesn't have the keywords on it. And so if you skip that process, you may be skipping out on some of the same fast track or fast passes that these employers have. So we have not spoken to Dr. Mills or Brian on this question. Do you guys have anything to add, about your company and some advice for military spouses when it comes to self-IDing or when it comes to PCSing?
Yeah, so for military spouses, one of the things we do is pretty similar to what Lindsay said, is being able to allow them to PCS, so to say, with their job, and allow them to be able to perform that in a telework environment. For any new military spouse looking to come in, I would encourage them to look at telework opportunities, because we have plenty of them with the minimum. And you just have to be willing to support the time zone of that opportunity. So that would be my piece of advice. And then when building a resume, I would like to add this in: make sure you're building that resume to the actual job. So you may have a lot of experience, but your experience related to that job is what your resume should be built towards.
Absolutely. And gearing, that resume towards the position that you're looking for too, right? I know it's a lot of work, but sometimes it's totally worth it. If you know what you want to do, take a look at that requisition and make sure that you're really tailoring out that resume. All right, spot checker, Sharon, did we miss anything?
I'm trying to think. So as a company, our corporate headquarters, we're 100% telework. So we offer those capabilities as well. And one of the things that we do very well is that we're, again, the Northern Virginia area, National Capital Regional, is highly populated with the military. So we encourage everyone to self-identify. Of course, we're compliant with the Department of Labor standards for veterans to identify, but we also encourage, once someone comes on board, even as a military spouse, to self-identify. Once they do that, we work one-on-one with them to encourage them in terms of the process. And again, we're compliant with the USERA policy as well, that gives special, special account for military spouses.
Thank you, Sharon. Terry?
Yeah, for our organization, unfortunately, we only hire within California. But one of the things that we really focus in on, that is one of our values, is our community internally within Blue Shield should match all the members that we serve. So, by self-IDing, we want to make sure that, the veteran population that we have internal to our company matches that to the population in California. In addition, with self-IDing, I know there's stigma out there about being a military or military spouse, and military-friendly companies should know that that really is a myth as opposed to a reality. And that, by self-IDing, we as like an ERG can help tailor programs for our audiences and bring in other benefits for our veterans internally.
Thank you, Terry. And it's when we talked earlier about mentorship and networking, that comes into play too. When you're looking for a career, let's say you're not a good fit for a company you interview. A lot of the military-friendly companies have a network, just like you do. And so they can refer you to other employers or other partners that they may work with that might be in the location that you're looking for or have a position open and available for you. So make sure that you guys are registered for the career fairs. We're going to dive a little deeper now into what to expect on a virtual career fair, some of the challenges during the hiring process, questions, lots and lots of questions. So we'll keep the next part as informative as we can, but really brief, and we'll go through and try and answer as many questions as you guys may have. And feel free to add anything in the chat if questions come up, and we'll be happy to bring them up to the panel. So if you haven't gotten registered, gijobs.com, go ahead and sign up for the career fair. From there, make sure that you upload your resume. Most of our employers who attend the event do search those resumes prior to the event, and they may reach out to book a spot with you to chat, even before you start with the actual event. So get excited, make sure that you guys register. All right, so the next question that we have is, let's say all goes well, right? You sign up, you are registered, you're logging in, the career fair is about to start, and you get invited to a chat, right? What is a chat? Is it an interview? Is it just a discussion? So what can you expect, from employers like yourself at a virtual hiring event when it comes to the chatting? And whoever wants to jump in first.
So for me, the chat is to get to know somebody, to really, identify where they want to be located first and foremost, and determine whether or not Amentum can help that employee be connected to that location. Looking at their experience, pretty, versed in our company and where most of our jobs are. So once I'm able to connect the dots there, then I'm already looking at what recruiters am I going to send this individual to, so I can help them get to whatever location they're looking to get. And once my hands are on it, then I want to make sure that individual's resume is built properly, and then it gets to the recruiter and then to the hiring manager for an interview. So if I can connect all those dots, then it's for me to get you to the interview process.
Awesome. All right. So with that being said, so you go in, you're meeting someone, you're having a chat, and the idea is to get to know the other person on the line, right? So as attendees of virtual career fairs, right, or even as the host, what kind of questions have you come across that helps candidates stand out to you, that leaves a good impression, that leaves a positive sort of stamp that you're like, okay, I've got to get this person either connected to employment with our organization or with one of our partners? Lindsay?
Sure. So I think there's some great questions, just general questions overall. So asking about a company's culture. Obviously, as recruiters, we can tell if you do your research when it comes to an organization. So if you're talking about maybe some of our principles or, our mission statement, that really strikes us as someone who is prepared, someone who is doing the work. So I definitely recommend to do your research for the organizations that are going to the career fairs, especially those virtual ones. Another question that I've received that I think really stands out is asking about what it takes to be an outstanding candidate. So they're looking for things that they can build upon their strengths. So again, they're really doing their research. And also too, I think just asking about day in the life, just really being invested into the organization itself is really what stands out for us, along with obviously then the resume.
Thank you, Lindsay. William, Dr. Mills, or Terry, do you guys have any additions to add to that? Any good questions that someone can ask during a chat to leave a good impression?
I think that just asking about our core competencies in terms of what we have to offer versus what their skill set, because as we know, military, your resume, there's a gap in what you think you can do, you know, Army be all you can be versus what the core capabilities are. But I think asking about what our line of businesses are, doing your research, but basically the culture and what they can expect in the next steps.
Absolutely. Our company culture is obviously, you know, really big, so they know what to expect coming into the company. And then, as Lindsay said, really asking those specific questions when you, you know, when you come to the career fair and you're asking individual questions about the company, whether it's the mission statement, the culture, what to expect within that specific job title that you're applying for. Really shows the initiative that they went above and beyond to really research a company instead of just coming to the table and, you know, really, I guess, sort of asking, you know, what jobs may be available without doing any research. So those specific questions are definitely huge when it comes to a particular job and asking about the company.
Absolutely. Corporate espionage is so important, right? Getting to understand the company that you're looking to work for, what they offer. I mean, there's been so many times, yeah, back when I was in recruiting too, like that someone would just message you and they'd say, you know, here's my resume, where do I fit in? Well, I'm not sure, right? So you want to make sure that you do your research, you look and understand what positions are available for the company and what, you know, what's a good fit. Now, from that, and this is a little off of the questions that we had, but I think it's important to touch on, you know, the longer that you're in service, the further away you get from that MOS, right? And then it can be very difficult understanding where you may fit at a company, you know, just coming out, right? Because a VP at one company can be different, a different level of experience than a VP at another. You know, especially with different industries and different types. So any advice you guys have on our audiences for them to kind of understand a little bit more about, you know, the positions that they may be looking for and how that would translate into the company structure? Like, you know, if they're in for 6 to 8 years, you know, where do they typically fall in to help prevent some of our attendees from maybe underapplying or applying for roles that maybe they'd be overqualified for?
I'll take this first. I think that when you transition out the military, I think it's important to understand that you're not the jack of all trades. And I think Brian mentioned it earlier in our discussions that it's very important to look at, to do backwards planning and look at the job you want to work and figure out how your military background may fall into that. So I think it's important to understand that you can't put, you know, for the Army, you can't put who on everything and expect to get a job, that you need to tailor your resume. If the skill set, if you have the skill set, you need to tailor your resume to that.
Absolutely. Brett? Brian or Lindsay, we were fighting for a
Yeah,
spot. Which one you go?
so I agree with Dr. Mills, absolutely. And what I do to kind of uncover that, peel the onion back, is I'll ask them, what are they interested in doing? What have they researched on our job site? And then send me their top 3 jobs. And then I'll look at their resume and I'll say, okay, in these past 3 positions, how many times did you do just this? You know, because that job is very specific. And then I tell them, if you know they have that experience and I uncover that, build your resume to only that position. Because although you've done everything else, and it's great, it's going to get kicked out of the ATS if you put it all in there because it's looking for those keywords. But also being in contact with the military liaison at a company, very important, because I have the ability to go back and look at that and then, you know, I guess, reinvigorated out of the ATS.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you, Brian. I think, asking them what they're interested in doing. And I also think one of the things you can do is help translate their resumes. So I can't tell you how many times, when you're fresh out, you put things like MOS, you put things like the name of your squadron or the name of your base, and you have, hopefully, if it's a military friendly employer, they have people who are in there that can help understand what that means and help translate it to either the recruiters or the recruiters themselves can understand. But there are different organizations out there that may not have that. And so really working with them and, picking apart what it is that they did. So, even those that may not think that they have experience, so like a machine gunner. Well, did you supervise people? Did you manage people? How long did you do that for? You were over logistics, you were over supply. So you have, operations management. We can add these things to your resume. So a lot of times I think they just kind of not sell themselves short, but they just don't understand how their real skills can definitely apply to some of the things that we need. And again, once you hear their interest, you kind of help them identify certain positions. You talk about those positions, again, see if it's something that they're interested in doing, and then really just help kind of match that, because you obviously want it to help them build a career and not just a job.
Absolutely. This is great advice and great intel, right? So next question is a tough one. So let's say we get past the chat, we go through our first interview, and we're kind of in the process of, continuing to explore opportunities with this company or with a company. When is a good time to bring up pay, to bring up, advancements within the company, to bring up benefits? That's always a tough one, right? Do you ask up front? Do you not ask up front? So seeing as it's a pretty tough question to go with. And for Terry, I think you're a little different, but maybe from your perspective, what kind of advice could you give our audience on same or similar question, right? So if you were applying for a role with your organization, when would you feel comfortable bringing up pay or benefits?
So I think for me personally, it's when you get to that final interview, you need all the information in order to make an informed decision, because it's not only them interviewing you, you're interviewing them to see if you want to work for them too. So rather than say pay and benefits, talk about total compensation, because total compensation is both pay, benefits, and all the other intangibles like working from home or comp pay or comp time and those kind of things. So I would do it probably at that last interview when it looks like it's, coming down to the wire and they're interested in you, is asking for that total compensation.
Great advice. Anyone else?
So for our company, PrimCorp, I would actually, so what we do is like when I talk to a veteran, I reach out to them first before I even send them to the recruiter. But if I were, when I talk to the veteran, I ask them what their salary requirements or their non-negotiables. So for us, I think I would not present that to the CEO in the coup, but I think if your recruiter is reaching out to you, that if you have deal breakers and salary requirements, for example, if you want to make $150,000 a year, but the job may only be able to pay $80,000, I think that you should discuss that very early in the process with the right audience.
Absolutely. And some companies are transparent about, I think it's some states like California, Nevada, and I think there are two more that are very transparent. So they put their ranges out there, but other states don't, right? So it can be kind of challenging. Do your research, look at ONET as a tool where you can look at what the typical salary range is. Glassdoor is another one, but Glassdoor, remember, is a soundboard for the anonymous. So do your own research before making a decision. You may not want to base it solely on Glassdoor, but they do have good information on there. All right, Lindsay, William, Brian, anything else we may have missed on salary and benefits? No?
So, yeah, I would
All right.
say at the final interview, as Terry said, it gives you that overall. As she mentioned, she took the words out of my mouth. That total compensation. Your salary is just like one component of the overall compensation that individual is going to receive. So you really want to cover everything when it does come down to the wire of that final interview, to negotiate the salary, to negotiate, what benefits look like, because, military veterans coming out of the military, all of that is, taken care of, for them. So they're able to, really have all those benefits paid for them. So really want to, explain, the health insurance and, what that may offer, dental, because now they're going to be, paying out of pocket for that, where before they weren't used to that. Also negotiating, your paid time off as well. I think it really sums up and, really paints the overall picture for that individual when they're going to make their final decision to join your company.
Great point, William. Total compensation is more than just salary, right? Like you've got, like you said, you have your paid time off, you have medical benefits, life insurance benefits, and there are a ton of other things that especially military-friendly companies do, right? And they offer to their employees. So on that note, can we go through and kind of talk a little bit more about different benefits that are a part of the salary compensation packages that your company may offer? And whoever's the most excited, jump right in.
So
Yeah.
obviously, all companies have, benefits. We have all the benefits that you would expect, health, healthcare, medical, short-term, long-term disability, PTO, paid holidays. But on the military side, as mentioned earlier, we have the military leave policy, whether you're Army Reserve, National Guard, or any Reserve or Guard component, and you get called to active status, or you are inactive and called to active status, we have the ability to give you, that'll be unpaid leave, or that will be leave that not charged, not chargeable leave, but also we will match if you're getting paid less, we'll match the amount that you would be getting paid with the Momentum as well. So we have a lot of military benefits as well.
Brian, when you say not charged, what does that mean? Does that mean like it doesn't come off your
So
bucket?
what I meant was, so it does not come out of your annual leave compensation. So if you have a 2-week drill that or annual training that you have to attend, you do not have to take leave in order to attend that. And you'll still be able to get your 15 days of leave that we provide when you join the company.
Nice. And you guys offer salary differential too, right? So
Absolutely.
some companies, yeah, that's awesome. Some companies offer salary differential, some offer full pay. It really is just going to depend on the organization. Lindsay, Terry, Dr. Mills, do you guys have any other benefits?
Yeah, I think we have, Brian listed a lot of benefits, and we definitely have those too, to include the differential pay. But one other benefit I think that we have that I get excited about personally is we get paid time off to also go ahead and volunteer. So we get about 18 hours a year to go out into the community during work hours and spend it however we want to. So I think a lot of our veterans definitely actually participate in that. We do events together as an ERG. We get together and we go and help rebuild a disabled veterans home within, whether it's weatherproofing or help building ramps or something like that. So it's a really fun time for our veterans to get together, and we have that space and that time to do so.
Yeah, my company, we also can volunteer during work hours, but we also provide 3 days to also just do community service type work, which is great. And then, my company really stepped up during COVID because we understood the pressures that everybody was feeling. So we had lots of focus on mental health. So we did things like quiet hours, which we still do today. So nobody could book meetings between the lunch hour. You can't do meetings before 9 and after 5. We had Fridays off early just to help with, all of that pressure. Some of that has been rolled back, but the majority of that is still there. So I really appreciate that aspect, that they're really looking out for the employee. And then also from a veteran perspective, we've got the gap pay as well. And we have 7 now, no, now 8 employee resource groups.
That's a lot. You guys touch on a lot of different pockets of individuals within the organization. That's awesome. Sharon, did you have something to add?
Yes, in terms of benefits and negotiating benefits, we have the differential pay. We have the paid time off for, reservists and so forth, but also in negotiating pay, I would just say that candidates should consider, again, the total package, but we're primarily a government contractor. So we're mandated by the government how much positions can be paid for, but we have the ability to pay bonuses to make up the difference, as well as sometimes employees would prefer to be 1099. I know that's a different whole discussion, but that can actually bonuses, more paid time off, and ability to be 1099 offers them the pay gap to meet whatever their needs are.
Absolutely. And that's, you bring up something great too. When you're exploring those options, 1099 with some government contractors could be a great way to go. Just, explore your options, make sure that you are doing your research and asking your peers, right? So bouncing back into requisitions, I think we missed a question, but I want to jump back into that. So on a requisition, when someone's looking at that and they're doing their research, there's preferred skills, there's required skills, there's, everything's categorized, right? What does that mean? Right? If you're coming out, is it like, if you want to promote advanced when you're in, you have to be able to check every box. And if you can't check every box, you can't promote. Or is it different when it comes to civilian requisitions?
So I would say minimum requirements is the most important. Preferred separates you from the competition. So in order to qualify, you have to meet the minimum qualifications. Definitely take a look at that. And then as you're building your resume, if you know that you meet those and you have some preferred as well, that's great. But minimum being the most important, then you build your resume to the position.
I would like to add on to that with the minimum requirements. Unfortunately, working with government contracting, you have certain certifications that you have to have. So just as an applicant, just be aware that oftentimes you will have hard certs that you have to meet, which is almost non-negotiable. So be realistic and make sure that if you're applying for a job and it has a hard cert, or if it requires a TS versus a secret, just understand that those could be non-negotiables based on the contract that you may be on.
Great advice. All right. So we're almost coming up to the wire, and I want to, try and get through some of these questions because I think it's awesome information you guys are providing and very insightful. So when it comes to education, right, educational requirements, do any of you guys offer anything? Like, do you accept technical certification credit for different positions, or is it a hard stick with certain education or credentialing?
We allow for certifications or military experience. So you'll actually see in our job description, 4 years of military experience using this in lieu of a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree. So that's a common practice among a lot of our positions, but I will say more so within the IT or technical positions.
William, you've been awfully quiet.
So for us, I think it really just depends on, the role itself, what that individual is applying for, and sort of, it could be a unique situation depending on the role. So we just encourage, individuals to apply for the role, and then that would, sort of trigger a response back, from myself or one of the recruiters to discuss, furthermore, really, looking at the resume and seeing what they're qualified for. Per their skills. So if there's, if they have a lot of military experience, could, potentially meet the skills that are required for that specific position.
So what about during the interview process, right? So we talked about self-ID earlier. Is that hiring manager aware at your organizations if that candidate is prior service or military spouse?
So for Prim Corp, we require that if we have a military veteran or military spouse, when they're on the panel, we require at least a veteran and hopefully similar background interview them. And I want to go back to the certification. Often there's a lot of hard certs, but I would recommend that each service member, I'm not sure for all services, but you pull down your joint services transcript, and that will tell you everything you've done and your life frame. So pull that down to be able to match that to the skill set as well.
That's a great add, Sharon. Thank you. Does anyone have anything to add on to the additional question that we asked and just randomly went over? Nope, we're good with that one? Okay. So last one before we hop off, we're right to the minute. I think we have like 3 or 4 minutes left. So what kind of advice can you give our audience today on helping them explain their value, their military experience when talking, to someone exploring career options? So when they're talking to a recruiter, talking to a hiring manager, what words of advice do you have for our audience to best explain the value that they bring to the table based on their prior service? Anybody? Let's go.
Yeah, my best advice would be preparation. Be prepared, write down your notes. Most interviews today are virtual. And if they are, that gives you the opportunity to glance over briefly and take a look at, your notes. But prepare, know the job, know the company, know what value you bring, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and why do you want to work for that company? That is probably the best advice I could give anybody.
Lindsay?
Yes, absolutely. So I think, again, doing your research, knowing your strengths, but also trying to relate your strengths to the position that you're looking to apply for. And to just also mention those soft skills. I think we get so focused on a lot of the technical skills and what's on the job description, but there's also a lot of soft skills that military members bring. Again, I mentioned like adapting to change, the ability to catch on to information quickly, things that we're just forced to do as military members that's valued within an organization. So definitely bring those up.
Absolutely. And what about for our military spouses? Terry, you want to add it?
Well, what I do is I use cue cards, and the cue cards always have situational type things. You'll always get questions about, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? How do you foster teamwork? How do you deal with conflict? So if you can have them all canned on cue cards and have them in front of you, because you will be virtual, you can just pick it out. And to Brian's point, that's a way to be really, really prepared. You don't have to, really think on your feet. And it will come across a little bit more professional, I think. So that's for anybody.
So Kayla, I will say this for the military spouse, they bring a lot of volunteerism, and that always impresses me. And when I see a resume and all the different groups that they've been in and different positions they've held, and many times doing that while they're employed, I think bringing those into a resume and into the interview is always beneficial.
Absolutely. And I think, military spouses bring a ton of skills that we may overlook, whether it's they also adapt to change. They also have to move along with their military partner. They also have, if you think about it, managerial ability. They have to manage their entire household while their person is deployed. So there's a lot of skills that they can bring in. You just have to think outside the box, but that's really good. It's a good idea to maybe talk to someone with, maybe have a mentor or something along those lines that can really help bring those skills out that you may not realize that you have.
Absolutely. And just a reminder to everyone attending, right? Our military-friendly companies want to hire you, right? They have programs in place. They have initiatives in place, solely built around the community. So whether you're a veteran, a military spouse, Guard and reservist, doesn't matter, right? They want to hire you and they've got programs built for that. I want to say thank you so much to everyone who attended today, as well as our awesome panel. You guys were fabulous. You provided so much insight and so much information. We can't thank you enough. Really looking forward to our career fair coming up on the 7th. So if you're not registered, get registered. Make sure you upload your resume and join all of these awesome employers who are on the call today, as well as about 19 more. All right. I just want to say thanks again. And you guys were fabulous. We appreciate you so much.